Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has arrived at the Akano Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, for an official visit to the state. The president arrived in the aircraft Nigeria Air Force Airbus A330 at about 1:22 p.m. The president is about now inaugurating the Enugu International Conference Centre, built by Governor Peter Mbah. Other projects to be unveiled by the president, according to the statement earlier made by Secretary to the Government, and that's Professor Chidiebere Onya, includes the 30 completed and equipped Enugu Smart Green Schools out of 260 under construction across the 260 wards in the state, 60 completed and equipped Type 2 primary healthcare centers out of 260 under construction across the 260 wards in the state. The president will also commission the completed multi-auditorium and multi-functional Enugu International Conference Centre, 90 completed urban roads in Enugu City, a state-of-the-art command and control centre, as well as 150 patrol vehicles fitted with AI-embedded surveillance cameras. 10 people have been allegedly killed and many others injured in a violent clash between villagers and Fulani settlers in Jigawa State. The incident reportedly began when a group of suspected miscreants broke into a shop in Gululo village, Mega local government area, and stole goods. In retaliation, some villagers traced the suspects' footprints to a Fulani settlement camp in Yankonama village, Jahun local government area, sparking violent confrontation. Now, the situation escalated when the villagers mobilized and set fire to Fulani houses at various locations within Miga and Jahun local government areas. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Lawan Adam, confirmed the incident and stated investigations are ongoing. And still talking security matters, 2 police officers have been confirmed dead following a gunshot fight with Lakurawa bandits who attacked Alhaji Lawa Block Farm, a nearby Fulani settlement in Natsini village along the Agongo-Kangiwa Road. Now, the Kebbi State Police Command confirmed the incident in a statement issued by its Public Relations Officer, Nafiu Abubakar. According to the statement, upon receiving the distress call, a team from the police Safer Highway Patrol Unit swiftly responded and engaged bandits in a fierce exchange of gunfire. The bandits were eventually forced to flee into the forest with gunshot wounds. The police also successfully recovered some of the stolen cattle. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Lawan Adam, confirmed the incident and stated investigations are ongoing. Still in northern Nigeria, respite has come the way of farmers in Edo State as the governor, Professor Babagana Umaru Zulum, has announced the state government will subsidize the cost of petrol for farmers in communities affected by the Boko Haram insurgency. He made the announcement in Bama town during the launch of farmer input distribution to over 5,000 farmers recovering from years of displacement caused by insurgent activities. News Center's Umaru Kirawa has details.
Community and traditional leaders gathered at the Shehu of Bama's palace, a location once inaccessible due to Boko Haram's control over the town. The government distributed agricultural inputs such as solar-powered water pumps, improved seeds, and fertilizers, among other essential items.
One of the major challenges that is facing the farming communities here as regards irrigation farming is the increasing cost of fossil fuel. And therefore I want to announce to the general public that government will procure petroleum products and sell to the farmers at a subsidized rate. A liter of petrol is being sold in Maiduguri at a cost of about 1,200 naira. But inshallah, henceforth, for irrigation farmers, for this farming season, a liter of petrol will be sold at the rate of 600 naira. Government is ready to invest an amount not less than 1 billion naira for this purpose.
The governor highlighted that a similar initiative carried out in 2024 in Damasak, Mobar local government area, significantly boosted food production and enhanced livelihoods.
Solar water pumps is 380 units of solar water pumps, 1,000 units of knapsack sprayers, 800 rolls of 2-inch flexible hose, 1,000 liters of pesticides. So far, so good, about 100 tube wells were drilled. But inshallah, another 250 tube wells will be drilled for irrigation purposes. Inshallah, more than 5,000 farmers will benefit from this scheme.
Stakeholders applauded the initiative and encouraged farmers to use the provided resources for their intended purpose. The resettlement of neighboring towns and villages, the government stressed, is essential to ensuring sustainable livelihoods for displaced persons. If this initiative succeeds, large-scale farming will become a reality, ensuring food security across the region. In Bama for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Prominent human rights lawyer Femi Falana says former President Umaru Yar'Adua rejected the sale of the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries to a consortium led by Dangote Oil because his predecessor, Olusegun Obasanjo, failed to follow due process in the transaction. On Thursday, Obasanjo said the late president turned down a $750 million offer from Aliko Dangote, chairman of the Dangote Group, to manage the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries in 2007. He added that his administration had plans to tackle the challenges faced by the Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries during his tenure. However, Falana in a statement countered his narrative, saying Obasanjo had sold a 51% stake in the Port Harcourt refinery to Blue Star Oil for $561 million. He added that Blue Star Oil was a consortium comprising Dangote Oil, Zenon Oil, and Transcorp. And for more on this, we're joined by energy expert Nick Agul. Good evening. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good evening. Good evening to our viewers.
All right. Let me kick off by asking you, what are the legal and, of course, regulatory implications of Obasanjo's decision to bypass the National Council on Privatization and the sale of the refineries?
Thank you very much for the question. If we go back to 2007, which was President Obasanjo's last year in office, as he was serving his second term, there was a flurry of activities in terms of privatization, specifically the refineries. And he sold stakes in the Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries. And just as Femi Falana, the renowned senior advocate of Nigeria, has said, the Council of Privatization, which the Vice President was the head, was charged with the responsibility for doing that. But let's not forget that in Nigeria, the office of the Vice President is not an office on its own. That is an office that is jointly held with that of the President. There are places where the Vice President can be elected on a different party platform from the President, but that's not the case in Nigeria. The powers of the Vice President are resident in the powers of the President. So even though the Privatization Act did say the Vice President is the chairman, it's not to say that the President, using his executive powers, couldn't have presided over the privatization of the country, of the country's government-owned enterprises. But that be as it may, we know that in the aftermath of the privatization, which was at the twilight of the Obasanjo years, a lot of agitations happened thereafter, where people thought that the refineries were sold for cheap, and they went on strikes led by the labor unions. And in my mind, I know that some of those strikes and some of those agitations were being sponsored by people who did not want the refineries to work. look, Nigerians, we shouldn't be fooled. Now we have the benefit of hindsight. We can see what has happened. From that 2007 to 2024, a period of 17 years, the refineries never worked, and we continued importation of petroleum products upon which subsidies were being paid that were subject of criminality. The same refineries, with the advent of the Dangote refinery in 2024, have now started to work, when we now know that importation of products is no longer there. So there are all sorts of games that have been happening. If you, now with the benefit of hindsight, if you ask me, I would have said it was better for us to have sold the refineries back in 2007, than to waste an additional $2 billion on their maintenance and turnaround maintenance and repair, which has not yielded any results. Even the two refineries that have now been said by the NNPCL to have been commissioned, they are enmeshed in controversy as to whether they are producing PMS, which is premium motor spirit, or Petrol as popularly called, which is the fuel that we mostly use in Nigeria. The controversy is still raging. So if these refineries had gone to private sector operators and they had invested their money and got the refineries up and running, we will be in a much better position today than what we are now.
Mr. Agul.
So that's the position.
Just to follow your train of thoughts, Mr. Agul, you talked about the private sector being in charge of our refineries, but then what key criteria should be followed to ensure the privatization of national assets like refineries to serve long-term interests of the nation and, of course, the people of the country?
Yeah, of course, the process to follow for privatization of national assets should be that which gives Nigeria the best value for money. Yeah, so the process has to be transparent, has to be open, and has to be legitimate to attract foreign and domestic investors who have the capacity to do it. We had a privatization in the telecoms, and it was a privatization that was used as a political settlement instrument. We handed over licenses, especially the discos, to politically exposed persons. And we see the danger that privatization has caused to Nigeria. As we speak today, there is no investment in the power sector, and we continue to have grid collapses, whereas the tariffs are going up. If your transformer blows up today, you are not going to get a disco to buy it for you. You have to buy it yourself, same as a meter. So that is the kind of danger that we face when privatization is not done well. So privatization has to be done in a way that it is competent operators who have the financial, administrative, and technical capacity to run that particular sector that should come in. The kind of thing that happened in telecoms, where the MTNs and Airtels of this world already were telecoms operators, and we can see the successes of that privatization exercise.
Now, talking about privatization, Mr. Agul, in your view now, how has the handling of refinery privatization affected now the overall performance of Nigeria's refining capacity and the country's dependence on imported fuel?
Okay, so the privatization of the refineries itself was stillborn because shortly after the Obasanjo government privatized them, they left office, and the Yar'Adua government inherited a lot of crises with them and reversed them. And so since then, we haven't privatized any of the refineries again. And it is something that I believe that the government of President Tinubu should look into again, because the more these refineries are with the NNPCL, the more misery we are going to face with them, because the NNPCL have shown over time that they are incompetent in maintaining and running these refineries profitably for us. We have a 445,000 barrels per day nameplate capacity buried in this refinery, which we need to unlock, and unlock desperately. Because as we have it today, we have the Dangote refinery, a 650,000 barrels per day refinery, refining there in Lagos. They are not going to give us fair pricing unless they face competition. with that competition, Dangote can call any price for us and we'll be expected to pay. But when we have these 445,000 barrels capacity refineries come on stream, they will provide a needed competition to Dangote refinery, and only then Nigerians will be able to buy petroleum products at fair prices.
Well, indeed, we hope that is achieved as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your perspective on the news. Energy expert Nick Agul, many thanks indeed for your insights.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
Some respite may also be coming the way of the Ogoni this year, and that's because the Project Coordination Office of the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project has announced that several key projects in Ogoni land are set for completion this year. In a statement on Friday, the project coordinator, Nene Barini Zabi, outlined high-preps plans, which include soil and groundwater remediation, shoreline cleanup, and mangrove restoration. Zabi highlighted that a socio-economic study of Ogoni land would also commence, alongside advanced research into West African bloody cockle spat production and field stocking trials to support local livelihoods. Additionally, he revealed that high-preps will initiate a 3-year public health study focusing on human biomonitoring in the second quarter of 2025. Other initiatives include characterizing high-risk sites for remediation and conducting the carbon stock assessment of mangrove restoration areas, among other efforts aimed at sustainable environmental and economic development. Earlier, the Executive Director of Advocacy Center, Dr. Fine-Face Dumnamene, who shared his perspective with us on Ogoni land, has this to say.
The significance of the report also talked about the fact that the Ogoni struggle, for which the Ogoni leaders were killed in 1995, November 4, were true. And the reports actually portrayed and opened up the fact that the Ogoni environment is polluted. Benzene, which is a cancer-causing agent, was found in Ogoni land's water body, underground water, 900 times above World Health Organization recommended standard. It was also found that the entire water body of Ogoni land has been destroyed by hydrocarbon over multiple years of oil extraction that happened in the area. So all of this put together, UNEP recommended that the Ogoni environment will take between 25 to 30 years to clean up. And so far, since 2011, that the report was released on August 4, the cleanup did not take place until 2016, when the former President Muhammadu Buhari flagged up the project in that year, 2016. So by 2017, the project and acts of cleaning up Ogoni land actually started in earnest. So if you check how many years have been spent so far, it is less than 10 years, since the project commenced. And we still have over 15 years to 20 years, to go in order to really restore the Ogoni environment, especially the shoreline, where we have major environmental pollution. I think they should follow the implementation of the UNEP report according to how UNEP has recommended it. There is every step that UNEP has put out there in the report that should be holistically followed, with a few and pockets of reviews, because a lot of time has elapsed. So for us to really have sustainability in the environmental remediation process, there must be a kind of the cleanup agency, that is IPRES, must bring in stakeholders, including UNEP, should be part of this process. But we recently heard that UNEP has moved and pulled out of the process as a result of some things that are happening that they are not comfortable with. But they need to follow this process systematically and ensure that the environment is being remediated, the report is being implemented in such a way that they follow the laid down procedure of UNEP in that report, because they're the experts here and they have recommended what needs to be done, how it should be done, and where it should be done to carry out this process. That is why they recommended that for the first 5 years of the project, $1 billion should be released to carry out that process.
Thank you for staying with us. The secretary to the Edo State government, Tayo Oluwatoyi, popularly known as Tukana, has passed away. Oluwatoyi died on Saturday at an undisclosed hospital after being hospitalized following a road accident along the Ife-Ibadan Road on 19th December 2024. In a statement on Saturday, the State Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Wale Akinlosotu, confirmed the SSG's death. He described Oluwatoyi as a dedicated public servant who served the state with distinction. The commissioner added that further details about the memorial arrangements will be announced in due course. Oluwatoyi was appointed secretary to the government by Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa on 24th January 2024. And now to politics, where suspended chairmen of Owan West and Ovia South West local government areas, Dixon Ahonsi and Edo Enowo, on Friday defected from the PDP to the ruling APC in Edo State. Ahonsi defected with 5 councillors, while Enowo moved with 8 of his councillors. Ahonsi was received by members of the state executive of the party in Benin, the state capital. He said his decision was to join the APC was influenced by the steps taken so far by Governor Monday Okpewolo to develop the state. Meanwhile, impeached chairman of Isan Central Local Government Area of Edo State, Paul Iyoha, has accused the state governor, Monday Okpewolo, of orchestrating his impeachment. Iyoha is the 5th local government chairman already removed by the councillors of their respective councillors. Recall that the chairman of Egon, Onwan is, Onwonde, and Ohyonwo, and their vice chairman had previously been impeached. The opposition PDP had also accused the ruling APC and Governor Okpewolo in particular of being behind what it called extermination of constitutional democracy in the state. Iyoha, who faulted the process leading to his impeachment, noted that neither he nor other local government chairmen in the state were given a fair hearing before being suspended by the State House of Assembly. Earlier, we were joined by legal practitioner Elvis Asia to help make sense of this development in Edo State.
It's clearly a power play, a political move by the state governor to take control of the government system in Edo State. You know that the 18 local governments in Edo State is occupied by chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, so the councillors. So the governor believes that in order to have political hold on the state, he needed to control the government system. I think that is one of the reasons for what we are seeing now. I think the most important silent one is that, of course, the governor wants to control the posts of local government. You know that the strategy by almost all the governors across the country has always been that the moment they come in, they dissolve the government councils, suspend, remove the chairman, appoint technical committees who are basically loyalists and people that are loyal to them. And with that kind of action, they're able to have unrestricted access to local government funds. But I think the hurdle that this present government is having now is that with the
following President Bola Tinubu's call to state governors to prioritize development of their states and the well-being of citizens, residents of the Federal Capital Territory have expressed diverse views over the demand. Now, some spoke to News Central TV in Abuja, saying grassroots development is key to overcoming the nation's underdevelopment challenges. Our correspondent, Joshua Imarayi, has details.
President Bola Tinubu's earlier call to state governors requesting the development of their states and a focus on improving the lives of citizens.
To all of you, the governors, we have no choice but do well. It's in your hand to build a proud nation. There should be no state that we go to and not able to be proud of development.
The statement has generated reactions among Nigerians, as some say through grassroots development indeed begins at state level.
President Tinubu is very right for making that statement. If I were to be him, I may even use cane to flog the governors. Yes, to go and develop their states and forget about the local government autonomy.
We started with 12 states during Go1. And by now, those first 12 states, they're up to 50 years old. Isn't it? They've taken allocation for good 50 years. If you have a son that took money for 50 years and is from your house, if it's not working, you tell him to go out and go and do something.
It's in a situation where these governors put their minds on federal allocation all the time. There are so many resources, so many things that are to be tapped in their various states that they will look away from. They will shortchange their people, they will shortchange the development of their own states, just because they know that at the end of the month, there's a Father Christmas in the center that will give them something.
But referring to governors, because they are the only one and seeks best channels for him to see his policy and his idea reach the grassroots.
Many say President Tinubu's message to Nigerian governors is timely, apt, and necessary for development. Some say if all governors put in the necessary effort to develop their state, Nigeria will experience a new phase of development. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Earlier, public policy analyst Kieran Joseph was on the news to shed more light on this.
First, that the president's comments reveal what everyone already understands, but is a subtle admittance of weak state capacity, institutional and political. When the president has to appeal to governors that, in quote, they have no choice, it suggests to people who are listening carefully that they've been exercising other choices, and he is appealing to them to focus on developing the state. As far as strategies are concerned, every state has something that they can do in terms of how they mobilize resources to strengthen the welfare of their people. You know, one of the most long-term approaches is legislative, where you work with your state houses of assembly to enact laws that create enabling environment for the investors that we have within the global financial ecosystem. If that collaboration is there, where laws meet up with political ambition, you know, we can begin to attract investors. One of the other things that, you know, we can definitely do in terms of how we deploy resources or mobilize resources for development is to outline priorities. You know, what do we want to be as a state within this union, and how do we want to project that beyond the shores of Nigeria? If we begin to outline the areas of easy competitive advantage, you know, we can now consolidate on these areas of easy competitive advantage. We can build laws, you know, build infrastructure and create markets, you know, liaising or collaborating with the federal government to ensure that we take these our competitive advantages and create markets across.
The craft of canoe making, steeped into the traditions of the riverine communities in Kogi State, has continued to thrive despite the threats of globalization. While the craft has continued to provide job opportunities for many in the area, it also serves as an indispensable industry for the transportation sector along the state's inland waterways. Our correspondent Joshua Imarayi visited one of such workshops and tells us more.
In Kogi State, north-central Nigeria, canoe making is not just a trade, it is a tradition passed down through generations. The artisans here select specific types of wood, like mahogany and ekpe, known for their resistance to water.
Who want the billboard? They know they like water, where the wood where they carry water. Mahogany, apa, madrin, ekpe.
While the craft was once done manually with hand saws, utilizing modern technology and equipment has made the process easier and more efficient.
The first design on top table, we go put join them, design them. If you design them, you go come carry and put for here. You go use this engine before now hand with the use, but another experience don't come. The time we will learn work. Now this saw with the use. But as experience they come, we can't use those engines.
With more than 12 learners under his mentorship, The head of this workshop says that he ensures that they are supported with stipends at the end of the day.
If I close work now, you get the one where I will give them the small now lend the lend. You get the one where I will give them 2,000. You get the one where I will give them 5,000. You get the one where I will give them 3,000. Maybe no con they request money for food for people hand.
As you can see, this is an already finished boat capable of taking 15 persons at the same time. The style of this particular boat is peculiar to people here in Kogi State.
You get small one like that 2 person one. Would they do if not dry season, would they do 35? But rain season, wood they hard, would they do 40,000? The way they carry 2 person. You get the one way they carry 5 people, they do 60,000. It different 10 person, the money there now, so they different. As you see motor being, so they be.
Remains an essential part of the life of citizens. It is a tradition that not only supports communities, but also shapes the future of young artisans through skillful training and mentorship. In Lokoja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Thank you for staying with us. Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have advanced closer to the key town of Mesi in eastern DRC, capturing the nearby Katale area. Now, this development is part of their ongoing offensive, which has displaced thousands and deepened the humanitarian crisis since 2021. The M23, a militia supported by neighboring Rwanda and its military, has seized significant territory in eastern DRC. Angola mediated peace talks between DRC President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwanda President Paul Kagame were abruptly cancelled in mid-December due to disagreements over a proposed deal. The capture of Katale has forced local residents to flee towards Masisi Center. Masisi lies approximately 80 kilometers north of Goma, the North Kivu provincial capital. The conflict in eastern DRC has persisted for 30 years, driven by fighting between local and foreign armed groups vying for control of the region's mineral-rich resources. A court in Nigeria has jailed Musa Chianjari, a prominent civil society leader and vocal critic of the military-led government. Chianjari was arrested on 3rd December upon returning from a trip abroad and charged with glorifying terrorism and undermining national security. The 55-year-old has been an outspoken opponent of the July 2023 military coup that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Chiangari's organization, Alternative Citizen Spaces, has called for his immediate release, while human rights groups have condemned his arrest as part of a broader crackdown on dissent. Chiangari has been imprisoned in Filingwe prison, notorious for detaining political dissent. His phone and laptop were seized during his arrest. Organizations including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have urged authorities to release him immediately. A magnitude 5.5 earthquake struck northern Ethiopia, followed by a volcanic eruption after months of increased seismic activity. The quake occurred 55 kilometers northwest of Aspe Teferi, with no injuries reported so far. The nearby volcano erupted at 5:30 a.m. local time, spewing lava and smoke. Local official Aden Bella confirmed the eruption, saying residents in Katu have been evacuated from the area. While the crater has ceased releasing smoke, lava continues to flow from the volcano. Now, the region has experienced over 67 earthquakes since late September, causing significant damage to homes and infrastructure. According to local reports, more than 30 houses have collapsed. Thousands of vibrantly costumed minstrels paraded through Cape Town on Saturday in a lively century-old carnival rooted in the city's history of slave, drawing large crowds from spectators. Dressed in glitzy uniforms paired with flashy hats, parasols and face paint, the performers dance and march through the historic city center in what organizers have described as the largest parade of its kind on the continent. The much-anticipated New Year parade celebrates Cape Town's mixed-race community, descended from slaves brought from Africa, Southwest Asia, and Indian Ocean territories during the city's colonization by the Dutch in the 1650s. Organizers reported that 18 troops, comprising around 20,000 performers of all ages, took part in this year's event, accompanied by the sounds of trumpets, tambourines, and tambourines. A fire at a vegetable market in northern China claimed the lives of 8 people and injured 15 others on Saturday. The cause of the blaze is currently being investigated. Footage shared online showed people fleeing the market as thick smoke billowed into the sky. Other videos captured firefighters battling the flames and carrying victims away from the scene. Deadly fires remain relatively common in China, often attributed to weak building regulation and lax workplace safety standards. In October, a blaze in the major city of Chengdu left 24 people hospitalized with breathing difficulties. Earlier in July, a fire at a shopping center in the southwestern city of Zhejiang resulted in 16 fatalities. Mike Johnson has been sworn in as Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives following his re-election. In his address, Johnson underscored the importance of bipartisan collaboration to tackle the nation's economic challenges, including 4 consecutive years of high inflation. He pledged to work alongside President Donald Trump to revitalize the economy, reaffirming his commitment to reducing the federal government's influence. Johnson aims to drastically cut back the size and scope of government while championing individual freedom, limited government, and fiscal responsibility. His re-election was endorsed by all but one member of the Republican majority.
After 4 years of high inflation, we have a big agenda. We have a lot to do, and we can do it in a bipartisan fashion. We can fight high inflation, and we must. We'll give relief to Americans, and we'll extend the Trump tax cuts. We'll defeat the harmful effects of inflation, and we'll make life affordable again for America's hardworking people. As leaders of a nation with
taking over the European Union's rotating presidency, marking its second time in this role since 2011. Now, a gala event was held at the National Opera in Warsaw to celebrate this occasion. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk emphasized the importance of good leadership in Europe and Poland while outlining ambitious plans for the EU during Poland's presidency. European Council President Antonio Costa praised Poland as a source of resilience and urged Europe to continue to support Ukraine as it nears its 3rd anniversary of its conflict with Russia. Costa expressed gratitude to Tusk for his preparation for an informal meeting of EU leaders in February.
I have no doubt that the Polish presidency of the Council of the European Union will prove once more that patriotism and European integration are interconnected, that rotating presidencies preserve the role of member states in driving forces of the European Union strategic agenda.
In the world of sports, young Africans kept their CAF Champions League dream alive with a 3-1 comeback win over TP Mazembe at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium on Saturday. The Tanzanian side now sits 3rd in Group A with 4 points, while Mazembe remains at the bottom with 2. Mazembe struck first in the 16th minute through Alion Fati's penalty, but young Africans fought back. Clement Nzezi leveled in the 33rd minute with a stunning long-range strike. In the second half, Aziz Ki puts the hosts ahead in the 56th minute, and Nzeze sealed the win just 4 minutes later with his second goal. Despite Mazembe's late attempts, including the free kick hitting the crossbar, the Tanzania champions held firm to stay in the quarter-final race. Newcastle United's Alexander Isak remains in red-hot form, scoring the game to secure a 2-1 win over an injury-hit Tottenham Hotspur in London. Spurs took an early lead through Dominic Solanke's diving header in just the 4th minute, lifting spirits on a chilly day. But Newcastle struck back quickly. Anthony Gordon equalized, and Isak found the net before the half-time. Tottenham pressed hard in the second half, with Brennan Johnson hitting the post and James Maddison narrowly missing, but Newcastle held on through 10 minutes of stoppage time. The win is Newcastle's 5th straight in the Premier League, moving them level with 4th place Chelsea on 35 points. Meanwhile, Spurs, plagued by injuries, stay 11th, continuing their tough run of the form. Barcelona's fight to keep star playmaker Dani Olmo and rising talent Pau Victor has taken a dramatic turn. On Saturday, the club appealed to Spain's High Council for Sports after La Liga and the Spanish Football Federation blocked their registrations. The issue stems from financial and administrative challenges. Barcelona had registered Olmo last summer after clearing space in their budget, but La Liga cancelled his license on January 1st, citing federation rules. A new rule prevents players from being re-registered in the same season. To meet financial requirements, Barcelona reportedly generated 100 million euros by selling future VIP seats at the Camp Nou. However, the Joint Commission rejected the application. President Joan Laporta has vowed to appeal, while Olmo's future hangs in the balance. Celtic are in talks to bring back former defender Kieran on a pre-contract deal from Arsenal. The 27-year-old left the Scottish Championship in 2019 for £25 million, but has struggled with injuries during his time in England. Arsenal are open to letting him leave when his contract expires, though a January loan move is still a possibility. Tierney, who's highly regarded for his professionalism, has made 125 appearances for Arsenal, including a recent loan spell at Real Sociedad. His last game for the Gunners was in December's Carabao Cup quarter-final win over Crystal Palace. However, his career has been hampered by 10 injuries, including surgeries from shoulder and knee issues, as well as a serious hamstring injury. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. President Tinubu visits Enugu State, inaugurates landmark projects. Banu government subsidized petrol to 600 naira per litre to support farmers. Northern Ethiopia hit by earthquake and volcanic eruption. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Agul TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Bola Tinubu.